So, yeah, the Black Caps last night, another good, solid performance. Frustrating, I suppose, to get close, but not close enough to get on the board in this series. So they're now down 3-0, so the series is gone. Pakistan looking for a clean sweep in the ODI series here, which will take them to number one in the world. And I think they fully deserve that as well. They've got clearly, I think, probably the best pace attack in any form of the game, particularly in ODI cricket. And it's been a factor that New Zealand have struggled to get runs in the last 6 or 7 overs, in those death overs when the Pakistani quicks come back into the attack and basically put the brakes on. And this is what happened last night. New Zealand at one stage 3 for 168 and still only needed 121 runs from 96 balls. So eminently feasible at that stage, but back came the quicks and the brakes went on, the wickets started to fall, and New Zealand all out in the end for 261. With me now is Craig Cumming, former Black Cap himself. Craig, thank you for your time. There was much to admire, wasn't there? Even though a 26-run loss is fairly clear-cut in a 50-over match, there was still much to admire with the bat and even with the ball from this makeshift, make-do Black Cap side last night.
Yeah, it certainly was. And you consider, probably two things. One, how many players, maybe Black Caps from their first 11 across the border playing in the IPL, or some of them playing, some of them not. So you've got a lot of, I suppose, young, inexperienced players, sprinkled with experience, but then also throw in that Pakistan are potentially the number one side in the world for one-day cricket if they win the next 2 games. So, they are very, very good. You look at their seam attack, and I'd probably say it's probably the best seam attack going around world cricket for white ball. And then the quality of their batting, they are very good. So I'm really excited by it. I think, and the reason I get excited is because we've had in the 3 one-dayers, we've been scoring runs, and it's not quite as many as them, but we got over 320 in the second one. Daryl Mitchell's got a couple of hundreds, but to me, the area that we get the most, I suppose, strength back is in the bowling department. So to see our batters doing well and see them scoring runs against a very good seam attack, I think it sets us up really nicely, and it's going to give Gary Stead and the selectors a few headaches probably in the next 3 to 5 months when everyone's available. Obviously, Kane Williamson's not, but they've got a few headaches because guys are starting to do really well and throw in the other ones. I think they should be, while you don't want to lose at international level, Telfer, I think they've been really competitive and they should be really proud of that.
Yeah, even in the bowling area, Craig, I mean, I would argue that there's some encouraging signs there, like Adam Milne. First of all, he seems to be getting through these matches without getting injured, which in itself is a bit of a minor miracle. I mean, he went for 56 but took 2 wickets, 10 overs, 1 maiden, 2 for 56. That's eminently acceptable bowling by a paceman on that pitch, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the game's evolved, and we've seen even in this series. The old days, probably when we were watching Brendan and playing, and 10 overs for 50 odd, you go, it's been a bit of a tough day for that bowler. If you're going for 50 off your 10 overs now, that's 250 and that is totally acceptable. So. Yep, you're right. I mean, Matt Henry's been very good and becoming a real senior player in all formats now for this New Zealand side. So what is interesting, actually, the last 2 games, and maybe even the first one, they've only used 5 bowlers. Now, very rarely will you go into a one-day international with only 5 bowlers. So whether or not that's a tactical plan, the balance is not quite right, but when you think of the players that aren't there, someone like a Michael Bracewell who might bat 7 and can give you some overs. At the moment, they're playing... I think Henry Nicholls batted 6, so he's not going to bowl. So that could be more of an all-rounder spot. I don't think James Neesham gives you enough with bat or ball at the moment, who's over there in that 6 spot. So they're going through with 5 bowlers, so that, Ish Sodhi's been targeted a little bit. And he's probably been a little bit more expensive than he would like, but your leg spinner's an attacking bowler. He needs to have people doing a good job at the other end, and he'll be learning lots, and the pitches, to be fair, that they're batting dreams. So, I think the bowlers are certainly doing a good job. From what I saw and heard last night, the fielding was excellent, and the batting's been very good up to date. So yeah, I think when you add all those pieces together, and it is, it is the Black Caps, but you could easily say there's some development part. There's some good talent. Cole McConkey's made his debut, which I was surprised actually. I thought he played some one-day internationals, but he did well with the bat. And,
Well, he
he's
did.
an off spinner.
Well, Craig, he did better than well. He did exceptional. I mean, he came in for his debut 64 not out or 45, and if he'd had a couple of partners there, if he'd had a couple of higher order batsmen there with him for those last 4 or 5 overs, when I think they needed about 10 or 11 an over off the last 4 or 5, they could have got very close to that score of